welcome back to my lovely HP community and the 5D Collective. If you are tuning in to this one, please pause me now and watch our other episode. I'm going to ask you because there's important shared information. The seed that gives you integrity is being yourself with healed childhood trauma or never losing you. You can also take a look at our short. The short is instead titled "The Seed That Sustains Lost Integrity is a Paused Self from Unhealed and Ignored Childhood Trauma." Okay? And so the gist of it is the 5D collective is the 5D collective. One, Christ consciousness, one is consciousness, avatar, a lot of words, but it's the bilateral and vertically integrated brain. So people who take their inner world, their self seriously, and that means your child is whole or you're getting whole, because you need to know how to navigate your nervous system in your safety response. Your safety social engagement system, so that you're out of the threat one. Okay, so Stephen Porges, and I'm attachment trauma informed, so you are only going to be resonating with the 5D frequency and the 5D collective overall if you take seriously being yourself. And furthermore, the capacity for you to work with two sides of the brain, not succeed in your confusing shit, or want to have a linearity. So if you're uncomfortable with the going around of having a good time with information, again, you're not going to be in our 5D if you're uncomfortable. People who need rigidity, the structures, because they have the chaos and uncomfortableness of not knowing how to handle their inner world. They follow fancy man, woman, and people in suits, but not just follow. It's not about gaining information. No, they like actively believe in them. That's why the people in cloaks, I have nothing against cloaks, but I have nothing against anyone. The reality is I spotted, if you, again, tune on in, the people who follow them, they follow them because they want a sense of certainty, but it's in a way of a child. Okay? So you don't want to tune in, don't tune in. But the 5D are people who are independent thinkers, independent lovers. We know that food for thought, predictions, that's why I said predictions, food for thought. We're very much into meeting differences. And we're also okay with being complete opposites on all ends of the spectrum. Religion, politics, you name it. Not dumb brains. Dumb brains are teenagers, is how I'm going to have to break it down right now. And I have no interest in having more around me than whenever I'm out and having to deal with excuse me, which I have a good time with. But, again, we're building a community of smart people here, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. And I like to try and make sure people know who I am and what I'm all about. And as a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, I am a functional adult, and I do come with Jesus, God, and Holy Spirit. I don't have an arrogant ego. I don't play God. I also don't have a spiritual ego, so I don't play. Let me tell you about the future. I actively already know the future. I've been in the future. I will be in the future. But that's a side note, because again, while those who have recently in the past days made statements such as it's judgment day has come, they dishonor my ancestors. Personally, that's my, again, opinion, because they're not comforting or supporting, but also liar, pants on fire. Because they're all liars, because again, they're interpreting something from an ancient textbook in a way that is really fear-mongering, I think is the right word. I mean, to me, it doesn't bring me any kind of like, oh wow, you're doing such a great job. And really, I think of this station I came across a long time ago, this pastor just screaming to his community and talking about rain and hell, and I'm like, what the hell? It makes me think of mass media and journalism. What bleeds leads. So anyone who is in a threat response actively does shit like that, and I'm like, you are not supporting anyone, and you're not a representation of what I got taught in catechism, because I was a child, and had I ever gotten anything that scary? Mom, I don't want to go to church anymore. I don't know who these people are, but you didn't teach me God was this. Okay, so here's that part about blind faith, about our own personal relationship. And that's where spirituality is very clear why we won't go near some people. And as long as they're part of the ancient, times of yesterday, just keep on doing the crusades, like they're only going to attract the very same unfortunate, unhealed childhood trauma survivors who were treated like that at their very own home. It's very easy to know that decentralization of the self was part and is still part of our human evolution. A scientist explains it. People who spread rumors that yoga brings demons out of you don't know about neurosciences. Or they'll just say, everyone needs something to believe in. Okay, then. Okay, so great. Awesome. 5D Mystic here. I embrace all information and I embrace the data. That's why I'm the pseudoscience lady. It's also I'm woo. And the 5D Mystics also are empowered feminines. So I'm here with the 5D collective, not the 4D. I've met plenty of them. They keep their name private. They think that they're going to be taken by somebody, like there's a whole bunch of things the teenagers like to make up because, Elsa, show yourself. So when you need to be a hero, you're going to fall for, the algorithm isn't what rules them. It's them who picks what attracts them, which is also why if you are still here, then awesome. Thank you. It's nice to have you here. We're going to have a good time. Okay. So the predictions. Number one, I want to honor Robert Sapolsky with determined, as he says, no free will. I want to honor God, who said, mind your own business about the 0-1-year-old in my most recent hypnotherapy session. And I know why, because I'm here to support people who want to be their self. So he knows that I care. And I know that I care, but I also know that doesn't matter what I care about. You need to care about yourself. And that's why it's only if you have self-awareness, accountability, and regulation, and you want to be the best version of yourself, that you're going to keep coming. As the best version of yourself is kind and compassionate, like any inner child. And I can tell you all about the inner child in me because she never died. So when I meet people who have had a scary childhood, I feel bad. And that's why I don't like those people in cloaks who continue to spread what I'm going to say is just fear and more fear and rigidity. But I do know what they're there for because, again, when someone says, neuroscientist, they prove no demons? Yeah, no, they don't. I've had people tell me, and I'm a mystic, okay? I'm like, look, I traveled the planes. I know about these people. Like, I know who they are, Anyway, so, okay. Anytime you see somebody who's talking to you on a screen, the most recent one besides the judgment day thing is also, there's somebody who smiles in your face, but inside they really don't like you. Every time they're near you, they burn from envy. And I'm like, shit, that's a person who needs a therapist because their childhood was so horrible that they don't know what it's like to be happy inside. And that's why their very insides go up like that. And I've been explaining it in my courses of attachment trauma because there's people who have kids and they're not happy to see those grandkids being hugged because they had childhood trauma, and they get explained to the psych education. They get told, please don't have shame, and don't worry, we can work on processing this in time as you come to therapy. And you'll be able to see your grandkids be happily embraced and not feel this stuff in here. So when you understand you're human, and then you understand that all humans have kindness within them, but if they don't, that's because of that unhealed childhood trauma stuff. We're on a roll. Fancy women and man in suit and others are like, no, therapy is going to make you be soft. No, it's not. It's going to have you have a good relationship with your nervous system and eventually all your feelings, eventually, if you want. You don't have to. Okay, so again, my first years of life began with gooey, ooey, ooey. So for me, I will not be around threat response. I will notice it. Okay, and so 5D Collective, we're empowered feminines and masculines. We do not support unhealthy self-soothing, unhealthy self-regulating. Unhealthy means for you to be an asshole. We can handle you because we have healthy self-worth, but we won't be you. And that's why 5D, Christ consciousness. He taught me how to forgive. Forgive Maria, for they do not know. I add Stephen Porges as he informs me of what biological rudeness is. It's called biological rudeness because they're offline. And so with that, let me share with you a very beautiful story. It was about 2 years ago, I think. I lose my math. And I'm able, in 1 second, millisecond, as something beautiful is happening to me being yelled at by Caring Connection, recalibrate, that means self-regulate my nervous system as stuff comes up that wants to be brought forth, but that has nothing to do with the person. And in the meantime, I'm caring about the Caring Connection because we're having what is called a splinter. Or a rupture. No, it's a splinter. So basically, I say something, they get reactive, and I'm able to not be reactive. And in my head, as a downloader, channeler, mystic, I'm like, I'm so proud of you, or something like that. It was a proud moment. The word proud, and then as that proud comes up, I'm like, what are you proud about? Is your human makeup? There's nothing to be proud about. Meaning, it's good, great, yay, great job. But proud, the word is unnecessary. So that's how it feels when you have a ego and a self that are compadres. I think is the word. They work together, and you're able to say, of course, this is a beautiful, successful triumph, but it's part of what it is to be a human, which is why it's not needing a special anything. It's part of your human makeup. And the scientists all explain it. So being able to do thoughts and feelings is part of your human makeup easily if you put mindfulness, and mindset into practice. But you allow yourself to understand that if it's hard for you to do emotions, that's what the therapists are for, so that you can get your emotional body online. You learn to self-regulate. Once you're easily able to see, soothe, safe, secure yourself, now we have a person who is their true spiritual process. You have been awakened to your spiritual self if you go and get your child online. And until that moment, again, the ones who don't hear this, please, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't come back. Because I see plenty of 4D out there, again, giving what are random pieces of information without getting their own selves in a higher self. So I can understand when I'm watching a teenager on screen who's a grown-up create a group, which is why we have 4 waves of twin flames. It's just beyond. Not only am I humored by that, but the fact is this woman who's a prancing, it's like a little kingdom she got going on in her background. So she's amazingly talking, and it's thanks to these 4 waves that the matrix has been dismantled. So anytime I'm watching any of the 4D, I'm like, wow, I love that movie today. That was really good. So I do know that that's something beneficial for the groups that want silverbacks, like the flat earthers. I'm just not one of those. It's like, let me copy you. No, it's more like we're all human here. Who has a human ego? I do. Who has a human soul and name, or what I am? We all do right here. Yeah, there's other twin flame coaches. They want to be the number one in everything. They're on a mission to prove twin flames, like some other ladies on a mission to prove spirituality. And I'm like, you do realize scientists want to disprove reality. You're all amazing. Okay, so the predictions. Those who have lost directions, they don't gain integrity with the minds of those who are not securely attached. They gain integrity by noticing themselves. And then by noticing what they bring into the room, by noticing if they wake up more energized or not. There's a very straightforward equation to not ignore that which is the symptoms and signs of having had childhood trauma. We talked about that yesterday. So people who need direction but want to have integrity, they're going to be healing their childhood trauma, and then they're going to continue that. And that's mystics and not. So mindfully living and loving people, spiritually living and loving people, it's not something better or worse. Please do remember Robert Sapolsky with Determined, because the power of community for the 5D is that we know this stuff, and we like sciences, and we like spirituality, and we don't have a shit show when we bring in it all together. So nobody's like, you can't use Christian, you can't use Catholic because you don't follow the books. We're not those people. Those people that want to organize themselves according to books, they are, again, rigid, unforgiving, harsh. They only use one side of the brain. We don't want to be with them. I don't want to be with black-white thinkers. They're boring. They don't know anything except for the regurgitation. They're like the man who, I'm not decent enough to be saluted. He thinks he's cultured because he can use a lot of words. So, yeah, keep using your words. You have unhealthy self-worth. I don't want to be around you. The power of community here is that we have an authentic self, and we know that none of us are completely right or wrong, and really we don't have that type of conversation. We have, hey, let's enlighten each other, let's expand, hey, let me tell you about these words, those words. We have a good time even when we're interacting, and I get corrected. I enjoy getting corrected when I'm informed of things, like with words. Recently, there's been 2 words that have been brought to my attention that I still have an uncomfortableness with, but I thank the enlightening experience, and probably I'm still going to disengage from using those words because my gut already just thinking of them, like, no, but that doesn't sound right to my 3-year-old. And that's me admitting to being a little ego. But I won't be like, how dare you? You know what? You're wrong. I'm right. No. So the temple of truth, throat chakra, authenticity, self-expression. We all can do it when we have a authentic self. So that means that you are able to stand up for yourself and also know that decentralization happens. So that's Patrick McNamara. There's a really great book if you want to read it. Go ahead. But because I will be back with more predictions probably tomorrow or after tomorrow, I want to conclude though with the cards that called to me from that lovely archetype. Okay, so every one of you is a tree of life, and that's really awesome. But you're a tree of life when you have your brain, mind, and self, and heart, body. They're yours. So you own, observe, witness, narrate the sense of self, the soul of self. You care about your connections, and you care to bring the best foot forward. So you want to have more conversations, and you don't care about what the background opinions are. You just enjoy people, and you understand that as long as there's no physical threat, you don't need to be in your threat response. That the empowerment of communication and our herd is talking from integrity and with equanimity is really empowering and amazing, and that's your physical mastery. So the shaman is one of the cards that came up, and let's not use it as an identifier, please, which is where 40's at. Let's just use understanding it in all of its facets, and that's what you will feel called to embody. So for me, I'm a 5D mystic. I'm in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. I am a person of faith, blind faith, Holy Spirit, Jesus, God. In fact, I begin with that. That's why when I got clairs, I knew one thing. It's my human makeup. Now I know they're the same as spiritual gifts with the Holy Spirit, and that scientists look into it. But I also knew I'm not anointed. That's ego, and it sounds disrespectful to my ancestors, and it's just ego. I'm not anointed. I'm just Maria with clairs now, which means actually I won't be welcomed by all of those who I welcome still to this day in my heart. And it made me sad to know that I won't be welcomed by people that I welcome because I'm a child still, remembering my upbringing. Just thinking about it. So this is where it makes me sad that they don't understand Patrick McNamara's decentralization of the self, and that they have banned it or something like that. I'm like, what are you, ignorant? Are you stupid? What the fuck? I don't understand how your brain works. I don't understand. So conspiracy is what people want to bring me. I don't care for conspiracy. I'm trying to understand a brain, a bunch of people who want to use the word leaders with cloaks, and I'm like, huh? And then I get to see them on screen making fun of Sadhguru and saying, well, everybody needs something to believe in. I'm like, what do you think you are? You're the same thing. What the fuck? Like, how dare you get on, with what? That I'm going to pause. They lack self-awareness, like Dr. Daniel Fox presents, and anybody else who's non-bilaterally integrated lacks the self-awareness to notice you're a buffoon right now. You realize this. You're a hypocrite. You have no integrity. You don't even hear what's coming out of your mouth. So anytime I see that, I just say, fall away from those who wear dress-ups. Cloaks are dressing up when you use words in a way of not embodying the truth of what, by the way, shared consciousness as a channeler and downloader. And once you have a relationship, if you do, which I do, but again, I have it with my prefrontal engaged, my default mode network downregulated. I'm not using an amygdala. I'm not using narrative. I have a relationship with that which is infinite and beyond, and it's not with arrogance, and it's not with ego. It's not any of that. It's with honor and respect, and actively, quite like, okay, little baby steps as I share my relationship with something that not all people will believe in, comprehend. When people are like, oh, your dreams are just dreams. No, they're not. When people will dismiss those of us who are mystics, we don't give a shit. If you're a 5D1, if you're 4D1, wow, okay, you really think scientists are going to take you seriously? Like, you don't know. That's scientists. Some of them are assholes, like some spirituality people too, though. And we all can have assholes. So anyways, enough about that. Side note. So if you, what I was trying to say, resonate with the word shaman, and you feel that and you embody, you. I in the meantime, I don't embody that. I was trying to say I embody the message of this card. The shaman, the magi, the sorcerer, the medicine woman. And see, it has more than just one type of way to be able to be seen. So the shaman can't be rushed. Working with this archetype requires study and perseverance. Think of it like bringing or maintaining, marinating. The contents must permeate every fiber of its being. And The shaman is activated by long-standing and diligent study, the mentor. Mentor definitely is here. Second, its orientation is generously and accurately aimed toward the healing of the self, the other, and the culture, the healer. And that's what we have a problem with 4D is they're not healed. But they'll use the word shaman or mystic, okay? And then they don't notice that they're not even their own mentor yet. Okay, and then they're going to go, but then again, the flat earthers have each other for a reason. So that's why they're Peter Pan's lost boys, lost girls, because they don't have their whole self in the forefront. They're not healed completely like those bad therapists who people are afraid to go to because they're bad therapists, because they still have unhealed child parts. They will go on screen and tell you, oh, the data's wrong about narcissists being healable, and all my colleagues are against me. Wow, your colleagues are against you. Now you sound like a little 3-year-old with a 16-year-old. I want a group. Here's Mean Girls for you. That's what you will notice if you are a 5D collective person when you're going on YouTube is how many teenagers are out there creating little groups. They're so cute. And they just use words, and then they wear the cloaks, all of them. They all wear dresses. They all have the fanciest of backgrounds. You should see the one she gets more and more amazing by the year. Oh, by the way, here's a prediction for you. Every time you grow up a little bit more, well, one, you find out the buffoons that are buffoons, which is good because you keep on listening to them for other reasons, but then you're like, okay, they're pretty uninteresting. And then when big changes happen, yeah, we're not like, oh my God, the world is now crumbling and over. No, not to the 5D collective. So that's because, again, we're grown-ups. Third, the shaman has a knack for finding doorways to the other world, allowing psychic visions and old magic to leak into this world, the unseen. Yes, so because they use words like this, I'm like, yeah, people can get lost in all this. Let me tell you about magic. It's a bit of magic. So with this one woman who, for a long, long, long time, she gave support to our mystic community. All of a sudden, shit goes, no shit. She had what is called, Patrick McNamara, come on in, a decentralization of the self moment. And instead of actually being able to expand and embrace two sides of a coin, she went and reverted to the extreme opposing and said everything that I've done is all the devil's work, basically. And a bunch of people were like, and I was more like, what a hypocrite. Wow, you don't know how to keep two sides of a coin together. I'm not confused by what just happened. Actually, I knew all about this, and I keep seeing whenever this happens, I'm not like, oh my God, how dare that leader. They weren't a leader to begin with for the smart people, because we will have noticed how you just basically went to 360 on everything you did. You literally said, all I did, now I don't believe in it anymore. And actually, it's all bad. And that's very much what rigid and chaotic people who are not bilaterally integrated do. So she never owned herself. In fact, she actively didn't own anything of her childhood or of her teenage. She got a brain that was paused, self that was paused, and therefore other people they wanted to blame. Some people blamed the man she was with. I didn't like the man's aura. So this is what teenagers end up. They got good people and bad people. When I say teenagers, it's all adaptive child parts. They're people who have an enemy somewhere, which is why their threat response is what leads them. And then you see them flipping and flopping without ever taking ownership about what they brought into the table in the first place. Whatever I will ever have brought, and don't say it's right or wrong. No, I'll be able to say, you know what? I brought it for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Why? Because I own Maria. That's why. I don't speak out of my asshole. I speak out of it because of other reasons. Some people think I'm stupid. My point is, though, I'll take conscious ownership of it. That's what a 5D collective member is. It's not right or wrong. It's that we all have a past. We come with it. We all have something we're contributing. And anyone who is a leader in my book, they don't turn around and say, I didn't do it. Oh, the dog ate my fucking homework. Wow, you really don't know how to take accountability. I don't look at that in any other way except for, sure, teenagers. Again, that's indicative of a person not owning anything about themselves. And there's a bounty full of people who don't own anything. But, again, 4D, 3D, they're there for those people. Meantime, Sadhguru, what you do is up to you, but you must do it consciously. That is what it means to be human, yes, but you can't do it consciously if you don't own your child parts, and if you don't own the seed that is you, and if you don't own that which is your inner world, which I want to share our lovely Where are you? Here it is. Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Yoga is a method to experience the within, and this is when Sadhguru is wishing us a joyful Christmas. The heaven in your body is because you're healing from trauma charges and you have a whole self and you get restorative embodiment. All the smart therapists are talking all about it, the good ones. The ones who deny it, we don't care about. They're denying it because they just don't accept it. And they're actively not accepting it for things that are called stories. And then for their non-bilaterally integrated brain, it's explainable biological rudeness. So there isn't a need for conspiracy, obviously, if people want to go down that path. That's why, again, but the kingdom of God, you'd think that the people who are with God would say, wow, great, because yeah, yoga, it helps the ventral vagal toning exercises, because I know of Stephen Porges and I know of Patrick McNamara and the decentralization of the self, and I know about Dr. Daniel Siegel. You'd think that they would go and get informed on these human beings who are helping the inner and outer well-being of people, or Gabor Mate, anyone who wants to talk about people. And then what you see is, no, they just like to use stories. So I don't use stories the same way. We use one story, particularly. The 5D Collective, we're all Pachas. And when we have Cusco's, hey Cusco, what's up? What's up, Cusco? Are you going to lie to me again? Oh, you look funny, don't you, today? So again, the predictions are that empowered feminines and masculines, we get together. Oh, and we don't cut people out of the herd, because healthy self-worth people know how to do this. Excuse me, you're confusing sciences and spirituality. No, I'm bringing them together. No, because you say I'm a mystic too. Okay, wait, hold on a minute. So what I do on my podcast is bring science and spirituality and spiritual together based on my mystic journey and Reiki journey and No, because and quantum physics, yeah, and then I get to see tattoos. Now I'm curious because I'm an eternal child and I really don't know what they're going to say, but I also think we're heading in the same direction. That was my hunch, was, you know what? I bet you and I are going the same place for the future. This was a prediction, which in fact it turned out exactly as I had thought, that we're headed in the first direction together. The difference is that I'm not confusing shit. He thought that I was and still does, and that's where you got an adaptive child, because the part is, you want to have an exchange is great as we expand together. If you're trying to prove you're right, you are with the unbridled self-expression. So your brain doesn't capacitate the more and the consilience approach. So you're staring at the elephant's foot all the way close up, and in fact you're cut off from Purusha Prakriti. You're not a pure piece of consciousness or energy. No, you're a non-bilaterally integrated brain, one focused. You're enamored with yourself too, and at the end of the day, ego, I got plenty of them that I get to have a good time with, because I eat ego as an empowered feminine for breakfast, because that's exactly what an empowered feminine does. Also, I believe in your free will, and so I can see all the beauty in the world in you. If you don't empower your own self, I don't matter any, because your ears, like my facade friend, hear whatever the fuck they want. They dress me up the way they want, and there you go. And so empowered feminine ain't going to be like, let me try and prove me. No, I will have shared me, and then I will have shared information, and then you will have taken and done with it what you will. So when we come together, though, it's to share, to expand, if we care about our herd. That's the spirituality life, meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So people care about each other. They care about their thoughts, their emotions, and they care about seeing, soothing, supporting, and securing each other. So they want the lines of communication from the heart and soul to stay open. And they'll notice if the lines of communication instead are not. And that is the minute of truth. Whereas I shared in that other episode, my friend, my facade friend, to this day, I'm dressed up for my friend. I love my friend to death. He's not dressed up to me. The conversation I had with him on our first encounter was, you judge a book by its cover. Here's why I'm sharing this information with you. And what I find out is that he didn't hear what I said. And then I find out he doesn't know who he is, because anybody who's playing out their 0-8-year-old is playing out a narrative that they're not in control of. They don't own their sense of self. They don't own their soul self. They don't even own their self. So I get to use a name. I get to be respectful like my mother taught me, God taught me, and that's why humble. That is what ego is, when you have humility and when you have integrity and when you have bilaterally integrated and vertically integrated brain, and it's really fun to be in the flow state. So come and learn how to deal with unknowns, unexpecteds, and unwanteds from a heart that is open as yourself, with people who also are going to be themselves. And our facade friends, we don't kick them out. That's mean. But we won't be friends with you if we don't want to. A minute isn't enough to be saluted. He's not in. He actively is not in. I told him by being very clear, and that is all. And, again, nobody changes who they are, but some people haven't found out who they are if they have a paused self. That's the other part. So I didn't lose Maria because I didn't lose her ever. The ones who get their selves back, they know how to notice when their childhood stuff and dysregulation is coming up. And so we make a pair together because we get to support each other towards healthy self-worth. In my case, the person who raised me, my mother, yes, as I tell her the story of this dude, she's like, you didn't tell him you didn't like him. That's not nice. That to share with you. Determined. Come on in, Robert Sapolsky. I said, no, Mom, no. I just didn't talk to him. And look what he did, And so at the end of the day, we all will always have our child inside of us, but the part about what comes forth, okay? So kindness is what we all can be. Unkindness comes because of a beginning of a child that didn't get a child-centric environment, and they can notice when Cusco comes up. And then the fun about Cusco and Pacha is that Cusco stops lying, and that Pacha and Cusco get into a beautiful team, and that Cusco eventually is staying Cusco, but with those attributes of what integrity holds. So our community, we empower each other to become our true selves. And those who don't want it, again, we don't have to do anything. We have the laws. We want to keep on supporting to be one's true self. And as Robert Sapolsky, though, points out, maybe we don't have free will. I'm going to say God gives us free will, and Dr. Daniel Siegel, and a lot more, but we'll be back with more on that. So in the meantime, thanks for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe if you would like to support the channel to grow. And reach out if you want any information on mentorship or the masterclass or the spirituality retreats. Thanks so much.